anymore. I suppose you get acclimated to it. But
Moore,
Here.
O'Kane,
Here.
Shaner, Scott,
Here.
Waters.
Here.
Stand for a moment of silent prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Interview for city-appointed boards and commissions. Building and Housing Code Board, Troy Plat. Come on up, Troy, and tell us a little bit about yourself and why you want to serve.
My name's Troy Plat. I own Morningside Plumbing. I figured it'd be a way that I could give back. I've been in the plumbing field for 25 years. I feel I'm more than experienced enough.
Okay,
You have 3 vacant positions, correct?
but this one has to be specific to a licensed plumber.
Yeah, to the career.
Okay. Oh,
Correct.
I see, okay.
How long have you held a city license?
A master's license for the past 8 years.
Okay,
so you fit that description then, for sure.
Thank you.
Bet.
other questions?
Yeah, thanks for making the application.
Thank you, we'll let you know.
Appreciate your will.
Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Aaron Whitmer. Parks and Rec.
Yep.
Go ahead and tell us why you want to serve.
Looking to give back to the community. I think it's something I'm passionate about. I think it's a right skill set for in that to give back in that capacity and get involved with the community more.
And it sounded like you're pretty involved, if I remember right, on your application, maybe with your kids, or
Yeah.
you
yeah.
coach as well, or that type of stuff?
Yeah, my 4-year-old daughter and an 8-month-old. Also have a 21-year-old son that goes to Briarcliff, and so I coach my daughter's soccer team, interstate, and just very involved. I played men's soccer at the Expo Center, so use all the different Parks and Rec stuff too.
For sure. I know one thing that's important to me on a lot of these different committees is diverse backgrounds and opinions, and I think soccer is one of those. And I think with Parks and Rec, if you have a good contingency or group that maybe is utilizing the trails more, or someone that looks at other aspects, I think soccer is another one of those, especially since we started managing the facilities over at Riverside. I think that's some valuable insight, and so I appreciate you making the application for sure.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, very involved in the soccer community. I was soccer coach at Sergeant Bluff for 10 years, so
No doubt, man.
Now switched to youth ball.
Great.
Other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you applying.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Today, the consent agenda is items 3 through 12D. Consider those to pass unanimously unless a separate roll call vote is requested by a council member. If you want to speak on an agenda item, please come up as I read that item. Remember to limit your remarks to 3 minutes. Anyone wishing to speak on an item not under the agenda should come up under citizen concerns. I'll move the consent agenda.
Second?
3 is the reading of the June 27th City Council minutes. 4 is a motion acknowledging the Board of Adjustment actions of June 14th, 2025. 5 is a resolution setting a public hearing on the proposed connection fee for the 3615 Stone Park Boulevard in connection with the Broken Kettle Road Sanitary Sewer Extension Project. 6 is a resolution authorizing payment to Mark Albanesius for the Glen Oaks Boulevard paving patch project. 7 is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Heineman for 12 firefighter turnout gear sets. 8 are actions relating to boards and commissions. A is a motion appointing Ivan Sammons to the Active Transportation Advisory Committee. B is a motion appointing and reappointing Stone Conley to the Effective Fiscal and Public Policy Committee. C is a motion appointing Caitlin Dre to the Effective Fiscal and Public Policy Committee. 9 are actions adopting construction documents. A is a resolution adopting plans and specs for the Glen Oaks Boulevard paving project. B is a resolution adopting plans and specs for the 12th Street and Lloyd Boulevard storm sewer repair project. 10 are actions relating to agreements and contracts. A is a resolution approving a post-construction stormwater management plan maintenance agreement and easement with the Asher for the detention basin at 1300 West 3rd Street.
Mayor, I need to abstain on that item, conflict of interest.
Okay? C is a resolution awarding a service provider agreement to Thompson Solutions for the wastewater treatment plant air quality. I'm sorry, I got to go back. B is a resolution awarding a service provider agreement to Star Tree Service for the ash tree removal project. C is a resolution awarding a service provider agreement to Thompson Solutions for the wastewater treatment plant air quality H2S positive pressurization system project. I need to abstain, conflict of interest. D is a resolution awarding a service provider agreement to Lane Christensen for the Well 8 rehabilitation project. E is a resolution approving a contract to Nystrom Electric for the Hubbard Park lighting upgrades project. F is a resolution approving a contract to T.R. Harris for the South Glass Street water main and pavement replacement project. G is a resolution approving renewal option number 2 with Ellison as the primary contractor for additional 1-year period for the utilities concrete construction project.
Mayor,
Yes.
I need to abstain on that item as well, conflict of interest. And the next item, H.
H is a resolution approving the renewal option for number 2 with AG Construction as a secondary contractor for an additional 1-year period for the utilities concrete construction project. 11 are applications for alcohol licenses, 12 are boards, commissions, and committee minutes. Anyone to be heard on any of those items? Call the roll, please.
O'Kane. Shaner.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Waters.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
13 is a resolution approving the final plat of Sunnybrook Plaza at 5745 Sunnybrook Drive. The petitioner is Kennedy Wickman. P&Z recommends approval. I'll move that.
Second. Sorry.
Call the roll, please.
Shaner.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Waters.
Aye.
Moore.
Abstain, conflict of interest.
O'Kane.
14 is an ordinance dedicating and naming a property adjacent to 3820 Highway 75 North as Safari Trail. Petitioner, City of Sioux City. P&Z recommends approval. I'll move that.
Second.
Anyone to be heard? Call the roll.
Scott.
Aye.
Waters.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
O'Kane.
Aye.
Shaner.
Aye.
Anybody opposed to doing second and third?
No.
I'll move that.
Second.
Waters.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
O'Kane. Shaner.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye. Second. I'll move second, third.
Second.
Moore.
Aye.
O'Kane. Shaner.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Waters.
Aye.
15 is a hearing and ordinance rezoning 4006 Morningside Avenue. The petitioner is Mohammed Sehad. P&Z recommends approval. I'll move it.
Second.
Public hearing's now open. Anyone to want to be heard, we'll go with you first.
Wade Schultz, planning. The future land use map, this does make sense as far as the rezoning goes. The petitioner is in the audience as part of the BOA actions. They did have a limit of 1 year for the conditional use permit if this rezoning were to go before you today and get it approved. And then also it would only be, it's a special class C where it would only be beer and wine.
We'll let the petitioner talk first, if you would, okay? Petitioner? I'm going to tell you up front, I have a building in this area, so I'm going to abstain, so you know,
Okay,
okay?
okay.
Go ahead.
So my name is Dustin Carnes. You own the Sargent's Philly Time in Morningside. Business is business. We've tried everything to try to get more business in our doors. We have no parking. We have limited customers. You know, we want to be there for many years to come. And it's hard to do that with people around us that do serve alcohol and beer. I'm not looking for more beer. We're not looking for any hard liquor or anything. Just beer for people to be able to come down, sit down, and have a drink. People ask that from us all the time, and I just want to be able to give that to them. And that's what I got.
Thank you.
And for the most part too, I mean, just to educate or think, I mean, I know I've stopped in and stuff and had meals there, but it's more of a sit-down restaurant. I mean, obviously there's breakfast offered as well as dinner and a lunch crowd. And so your aim is probably, I mean, I'm not going to say necessarily that it wouldn't happen, but your goal or your thought process is maybe, you know, with dinner, sitting down and having a drink and being able to do that.
That's it.
Yeah.
Dustin, can I ask what your hours of operation are? I don't remember.
Yeah, so the wintertime hours is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we close at 2 o'clock. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we close at 7 o'clock. We open at 7. Summer hours are more like 8 to 8, 8 to 7. And the hours. We're not staying open past 10.
Right.
I'm not.
Well,
staying
10's
open
not
till
even
midnight, 2
late.
o'clock.
Yeah,
So-
10's not very late. And so with customers asking if they could have a glass of wine or, you know, a beer with their meal, do you feel like it would diversify your financials and things like that? You know, give a boost?
I think it would help us. I think that it would help us a lot, being able to do that. I have customers more than once a day that want a beer that haven't came in, and we don't have that to offer them. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
I think what you might be up against, from what I've read, is that the commercial club, the Morningside folks, there's been no alcohol or of sales in that area, in that vicinity, for a long, long time. And I appreciate the hours you're keeping. I appreciate what you want to try to do. But if that happens, then others will almost have a right to have alcohol sales. I think that's what I'm struggling with, is do you keep it the way it's been for a number of years? So I just wanted to be upfront with you about that. And
Yes, sir.
and maybe you already know that or have been contacted in that regard, or maybe you've seen some of the materials that we have that's part of this item that's been submitted.
Okay, I have not looked, but I
Okay.
have heard some of that, yes.
Okay.
Have they contacted you?
Has who contacted me?
Has anyone contacted you against it? Against obtaining the license?
I mean, I know that our neighbors don't like the idea, but that's it. That's, as far as I know,
That's who you've heard from, at least, yeah.
yeah.
Thank you.
I have a question for Wade then. Thank you very much. Wade, my question is more pertaining, thinking, because I do take into consideration surely, you know, neighbors, I think that citizen concerns, you know, when they come forward or are willing to speak, that carries some weight in itself. I would ask though, I was trying to think holistically as a city, and I was going through neighborhood by neighborhood. And so I was thinking as far as Leeds, and then maybe Riverside, and then West 7th, and some of these different areas. I mean, Riverside, I'm thinking up by Harvey's or that area. Riverside, you know, that Dollar General or the drag stretch there. Are there in West 7th, do all of those corridors allow or have places that serve? Is that correct?
I believe that most of those corridors are like in the GC district, which is general commercial, where currently the Morningside Peters Park area is suburban commercial. There are it's alcohol sales in that district or in that zone are prohibited. By going to MU, which is mixed use, would allow alcohol sales with a conditional use permit. Part of the Board of Adjustment actions that you acknowledged today were that the conditional use permit would be good for 1 year. and it would be a special class C where it was only beer and wine sales.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I guess to clarify, under general commercial, in those other areas, they do have alcohol and liquor.
Yes,
sales.
if this, as far as the conditions were concerned in this case, if this rezoning would have gone to GC, it would be allowed outright. So
just, I'm trying to wrap my mind around if in these other areas there aren't any stipulations, there are just liquor sales for whichever person would be opening, you know, or some type of establishment. And here, historically, there haven't been. And so planning and zoning saw this as at least just allowing a conditional use permit to see if, you know, if it was abused or if it would fit in that area.
yes.
That's my understanding. Okay.
Come on up.
And then, yeah, whoever.
My name's Steve Bell. I'm an employee at Sarge's Philly Time. I cook there and I also wait tables. And for some time going forward, we have lots of customers requesting just a glass of beer with a Philly steak. It's not going to be a discotheque. It's not going to be a bar. It'll be definitely maintained under control. But Sarge's Philly Time is struggling because there is no parking. Every restaurant that's been there has pretty much failed because there's nothing to draw them there. And we're trying to keep this going, and they have great ideas for the community. Sarge is always dedicating with the parades and always helping out and always helping everybody. And I do think that this would be a good opportunity for them to succeed in that location.
Thank you.
Any questions? No. Thank you.
Anyone else, come on up whenever, either side, doesn't matter.
Bill, you can come on up.
I'm Bill Drilling, Drilling Pharmacy, and 4010 Morningside Avenue. And, you know, I don't take this issue lightly. I truly appreciate all of the businesses working to support our local Siouxland community. However, alcohol has not been sold in the Peters Park neighborhood for years, and I strongly believe that it should remain this way. Our neighborhood has built a family-friendly, safe, and professional atmosphere, and I'm concerned that this change could disrupt that. As the owner of Drilling Pharmacy, one of the owners of Drilling Pharmacy, I have concerns about the potential for a restaurant selling alcohol next door. Our pharmacy is a trusted space where families, including children, come for advice, care, and medications. And introducing alcohol sales so close could compromise the environment of safety and professionalism we strive to maintain. Additionally, the potential for increased traffic, noise, and incidents related to alcohol consumption might negatively affect the experience of our customers and overall business environment. While I support local businesses, we must carefully consider the broader impact on the surrounding community. I urge the City Council to weigh the concerns and seek a solution that supports all stakeholders without compromising the integrity of our neighborhood. So,
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mayor, I have a question actually maybe for you, or since, I mean, I know you know the area and I know you've been served this council in this community for a long time. Are there other parts of town that have this or have this area where it's, because I'm trying to think, again, I want to be equitable. I'm trying to think of other areas and neighbors, because then you go down Morningside Avenue further and you have Tav on the Ave, you have Pete's 20th, and then down even more by residential, you have Miles Inn.
I'm sure they were there for zoning ordinances, most of those, but.
Yeah, right?
Bob Rose going
Would be,
Yeah, no
yes, I don't know, Wade, you'd have to answer that, but
And you have Bob Rose down the road.
I remember when I was 21, I might have went to a couple of those places you're talking about, but they were there long before I was.
Well,
Some of those have
I
been
hear
around.
other alumni talking about them. That's why I went.
I know there's been most of those places have been there for a very long time and are mostly grandfathered in for alcohol sales and most of that.
Right. I mean, if the Paxton were to close for a year, it wouldn't be able to reopen as a bar.
True.
And I don't know about Tab on the Ave on Cecilia Park.
I'd have to look at exactly.
I don't know.
I don't know the distances, and so that's
Right.
'Cause, yeah, that's my question.
But you're certainly up against residential neighborhoods in most of those cases.
Because then it's the
Same way
same.
with Leeds, the two bars there have been there forever and ever.
And
Steinbeck.
would you say they benefit the area, Mayor, or they'd hurt the area?
Well, I don't drink, so I can't, I'm not being smart,
Right.
I don't know. I was old enough to remember when there was alcohol at a restaurant in Morningside, just down the street. It didn't do very well, for whatever reason, I don't remember, and I was pretty much gone to college at that time, so I don't remember if it distracted from the area or not. Maybe Mr. Bradbury's younger than I am, he might remember the place at Schwartz's, but anyway, I don't know, I mean, again, I'm gonna abstain, so I don't wanna.
Yeah, and
That's
that's
fine.
why
I'm
I
just
didn't
trying
want
to
to
tell you
ask
the history
yeah.
that there has been an example of that. I remember as a kid, it was not an easy fight to get it there. Then it didn't last.
Because that's my question, is just of the different neighborhoods that I know that have that, like on a West 7th where there's a lot of businesses and property and parks in different areas, as well as just further down the avenue. Any other?
Any other person to be heard? All right, call the roll, please.
And this is to,
First reading. If you vote yes, you are voting with the P and Z to approve.
O'Kane.
Aye.
Shaner.
Aye.
Scott.
Abstain.
Waters.
I've thought a lot about this. It's in my backyard, but thinking about equitable in the different communities, and I think this is a cautionary approach of trying it for a year and not going full general commercial. So I'm open to seeing how this goes for that 1 year period. Aye.
Moore.
The zoning would be forever. But the Board of Adjustment for liquor will be for 1 year.
The zoning is permanent.
Permanent.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Would you vote, Dan? No. So it passes 3-2, or 3-1-1. So are you going to be opposed to waiving the statutory rule?
I'd like to go another week.
Okay.
Yeah, we can wait another week.
Fine. All right, it passes. It'll come back next week for second reading, and we'll see if it gets second and third next week. 16 is a hearing and ordinance vacating a portion of Cook Street at 417 Market Street. The petitioner's Tyler Sharon, the Commonwealth Development Corp. of America. P&Z recommends approval. I'll move that.
Second.
Wade Schultz Planning. So this did go through the Parks Board. They did recommend approval to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend vacation of the park land and then also the rezoning of the park land. So the next item. The petitioner is also here in the audience. They are on kind of an expedited schedule for the LIHTC application. So
They are what?
for the low-income housing tax credits, the application is due in a couple of weeks. And so
Okay, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Tyler Sheeran, Commonwealth Development. See some familiar faces for our prior activity here within your community over at East High Lofts on Morningside. This afternoon, we're seeking your approval for the vacation of some of Cook Park, in addition to the rezoning should that vacation get approved. With that, we're ultimately looking to convert the current Webster School into affordable housing. In addition to that, we're seeking some parkland to be able to construct a new construction component to the development, simply because the Webster Elementary is a little bit smaller in nature. With the additional parkland, we'd be able to have that new construction component, achieve some economies of scales that just lead to some efficiencies with subcontractors and overall, appetite for constructors to work on the project.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else to be heard?
One thing, should this get approved, we kindly ask that all 3 hearings are this evening. To Wade's point, we are on a short timeline. So thank you.
Well, and I will say too, I appreciate your willingness. I know that not only is this before us here today, but it also went before the Parks and Rec Board, and they had some feedback. It's my understanding I spoke to that. I forget the last time we were discussing this issue, but just kind of brought forth to this body at least what I understood as the conversation that happened there, that it was more clarification, and once a lot of those committee members had clarification as far as the intent and the reinvestment in the park, that in addition to housing for families and for low-income options for people in our community, that this would also be improving the amenity for them. And it sounded to me that those that maybe came to the meeting hesitant left fairly supportive. So I appreciate you taking that time to meet with them as well. I thought that was an important step, because we look to a lot of those bodies to kind of make informed decisions for us, just like with planning and zoning or any of our other committees. So thank you.
Hearing is closed.
Shaner,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Waters,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
O'Kane. Councilman O'Kane, are you still with us?
Oh, yep. Aye.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Now I can, thank you.
Anybody opposed to waiving the statutory rules?
No.
I'll move that.
No.
Scott,
Aye.
Waters,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
O'Kane. Councilman O'Kane.
Yep. Aye. Are you not hearing me?
No.
We got
Not
you
at
now.
first, we got you now. Shaner,
Aye.
Sorry.
I'll move second, third.
Second.
Waters,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
O'Kane,
Aye.
Shaner,
Aye.
Scott.
Aye. 17 is an ordinance, hearing an ordinance rezoning.
Good luck.
Rezoning a portion of Cook Park located at 417 Market Street. The petitioners Tyler Sharon for Commonwealth Development Corp. of America. P&Z recommends approval. I'll move that.
Second.
Anyone to be heard? The hearing's now open. Seeing none, the hearing is closed.
Waters,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
O'Kane,
Aye.
Shaner,
Aye.
Scott.
Aye. Anybody opposed to waiving the statutory rule?
No.
I'll move it.
No.
Second.
Moore,
Aye.
O'Kane,
Aye.
Shaner,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Waters.
Aye.
I'll move second and third.
Second.
O'Kane,
Aye.
Shaner,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Waters,
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
18 is a hearing and ordinance designating property at 1114 West 27th Street as a local landmark. Petitioners BNC LLC, Nathan Conley. The Historic Preservation Commission recommends approval. I'll move that.
Second.
Public hearing's now open. Anyone to be heard?
Wade Schultz, Planning, also staff liaison to the Historic Preservation Commission. The commission did recommend approval on this back in December. It did go to the State Historic Preservation Office for a review. They did give some feedback on that. The petitioner is here today if you have any questions with that.
I don't think I necessarily have any questions. I was texting Nathan earlier that I thought it was really encouraging. His vision for the project and the site. I thought this was a good reimagine and reuse of the property rather than leveling it and starting over. I think that it appears that it has really quality bones, and I trust that they'll do a good job.
Anyone else be heard? Public hearing's now closed. Call the roll, please.
Shaner.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Waters.
Aye.
Moore.
Abstain, conflict of interest.
O'Kane.
Aye.
Anybody opposed to waiving statutory rule? I'll move that.
No.
Aye. Or second, sorry. Second. Sorry, buddy.
Scott.
Aye.
Waters.
Aye.
Moore.
Abstain, conflict of interest.
See, come on, we're both
O'Kane.
off.
Aye.
Shaner.
Aye.
I'll move second, third.
Second.
Waters.
Aye.
Moore.
Abstain.
O'Kane.
Aye.
Shaner.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
See, Heidi, we got it.
19 is a hearing and resolution approving plans and specs for the Martin Luther King Jr. Transportation Center roof replacement project. I'll move that.
Second.
Public hearing's now open. Anyone to be heard? Seeing none, the hearing is closed.
Moore.
Aye.
O'Kane.
Aye.
Shaner.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Waters.
Aye.
20 is a resolution approving a contract to Keywood Infrastructure as the construction manager at risk for the pre-construction services of Phase 1 of the wastewater treatment plant facilities and plan improvement. I'll move it first.
Second.
Then I'll move to amend the item to correct the address listed from Omaha, Nebraska to Lone Tree, Colorado. I'll move that.
Second.
O'Kane.
Aye.
Shaner.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Waters.
Aye.
Moore.
Engel?
Aye.
Go ahead.
This is for the CMAR contract to hire Tom Pingle, Utilities Director. As you guys know, we went through an extensive list of contractors, put out an RFQ, which was all this was required by the state. Got back 5 firms that a few of them teamed up. Of them 5, they all made it to the RFP section. They all proposed, and from there, 4 of them continued. And out of those 4, the scoring matrix showed that Kiewit was the top. And we brought that to council for your approval to start negotiations. And we're back with the negotiations completed and the contract ready to go. Today, what you will be approving is the CMAR pre-construction services for $3.2 million. This is services that will allow us to get through the final completion of the design. At about 90% of the design completion, Kiewit will bring the city a guaranteed max price, and at that time, we'll bring back this contract for amendment. If you guys like the number, obviously, and move forward with the CMAR. If the number's too high, we can off-ramp at that time and put the project out to bid.
I have a few questions for you.
Yep.
I mainly went through the contract with the construction manager at risk. On page 3, it says the construction manager may also compete to self-perform work. Can you explain that a little further for us?
Yep. So Kiewit is a contractor itself. If they want to bid on, let's say building a road that's in the wastewater plant, they most certainly can. But the city gets to reserve the right to look at all the prices that are coming in from other contractors. And if the self-performing is at the right price, obviously, and we are okay with that, then that's in the contract. Yep.
They have that ability then to submit a bid as well then?
Correct.
Always you have that. You bid the sections out in packages, but they have to bid the package like everybody else, and if they're not low bid, then they're not.
Then we can award that to someone else.
Okay. And then the other thing I wanted to ask you about, at least in the copy that I have, and I understand there was a final draft, but substantial completion is anticipated December 2030. Is that for the construction?
That's for the
There's a pre-construction phase and there's a construction phase?
Yep.
Is
So
that for
clarify, the pre-construction phase will be completed at the end of this year. We'll start construction the 1st of 2026.
And that would go till December?
Of 2030, yep.
30, okay. And then, hang on a minute, page 13. Oh, that's where you already mentioned the dollar amount for the pre-construction phase. That was how much again? Through?
Well, the exact amount is $3,237,343.65.
Okay, so that's the pre-construction phase, and then on the construction phase, we're looking at 9.55% of the total amount of the cost of construction?
That's correct.
Is that around that $275 million?
That's what we're hoping, yep.
That we have on that phase? Okay. And that was all negotiated?
That is correct.
Correct.
And then the pre-construction services is time and material not to exceed. So if we don't use it all, then it just goes back to we just don't take more loan out is what we'll do.
You probably just answered my next question. If the actual cost of the work plus the construction manager's fee is less than the guaranteed maximum price, such difference, the savings shall accrue to the owner and not to the construction manager.
Correct.
Is that correct?
At this point, yep. When we do bring back the contract, we will bring into the negotiation contingency fees.
Okay.
Gets a little complex with CMAR contingency fees. We can have two different buckets. We can split it with the CMAR, but that'll all be negotiated before we get there.
Okay, thank you. And then my last question I have for the retainage, that's a 5%? Is that what our retainage will be?
Correct. 5. Yep.
Construction?
Yep.
Thank you, Tom.
Yep.
Anyone else be heard?
It's my understanding we have a representative from Hewitt.
Travis is from Hewitt. He's the project manager for the project. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Good afternoon. I'm Travis Baumgartner with Hewitt, listed as the project manager for this.
Any answers you heard to my questions that you want to expand on or agree with, or?
I think Tom answered all of them the way I would have answered them as well.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, Tom's been doing a great job for us on this whole project. It's been a monumental project, and Tom, you really have. You just have really paid the time that is necessary to do it right.
I appreciate that. I'm not alone, though. We have tons of folks helping.
You got a great team.
Folks like Bill, folks in our staff. It's just amazing how.
Pumping up Mr. Bradbury. There we go.
Bill has been
Absolutely. And we
very
look forward to the
strong
same. Yeah, we look forward to the same excellent service that we've received from Tom with your companies, and we just hope we stay on the right track, so thank you. Thank you for being here today.
Well, thanks for having me, and I just wanted to say we're excited to get this project going.
Travis, one question that I just wouldn't mind your elaboration on, thinking about, a lot of people are trying to wrap their mind around this project and what it looks like, the different phasing, the different timing, all of those different things. For the layperson, maybe, or the person listening to this here today, whether now or watching the coverage later, can you explain, just elaborate a little bit more about this step and maybe what Hewitt is going to be doing with this pre-construction or with this portion of the contract, leading up to it, how this isn't the whole thing necessarily, but it's just kind of this early phase and what we can expect from you or what you'll be working on?
Sure. Yeah, I think that the two biggest areas we will cover in this phase of the project is coordination with design. So we will bring on our subject matter experts whether it's in electrical, process, mechanical, civil, piping, however we break it up. We'll bring in our experts, work with their design team's experts, their counterparts, and we'll work through different ideas on how to build it, the constructability of it, offer different maybe permanent material types that would still work for these guys that may be more efficient, those types of things, to get the design to where it achieves the city's goals, including the budget. Right? And then the second big part about our role is the costing part. So one of the first things we're going to do is we'll evaluate the design where it's at right now and do a bottoms-up estimate. We'll go out for current market pricing and basically estimate the entire project and bring that to Tom and his team. That allows us to really go focus in on specific areas of the project if the pricing isn't where we want it, and go attack those with the teams that I talked about earlier on how to get that down.
Sir, going forward, especially when we get into the construction phase of it, and maybe the pre-construction, the construction phase, I would anticipate it, how's the inventory of all the parts that we would need to put this together? How's that inventory today out there? Is it still running short? Are they, I'm just talking just generally about, because I don't know all the components that go into of what we're going to be changing. I know a lot of them, but not most of them. But what would you say would be what the inventory is like today that we've run into? It seems like we've run into that, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago, and that lasted for quite a while, high prices, that kind of thing. What's your take on it?
Yeah, my take on it is if the electrical gear is probably what we need to focus on first. That seems to be upwards of 12 months to go for procurement time frame. One of the things that we will do at the 30% cost model is we are going to go talk to the vendors that could be potential suppliers, and we will get current procurement times, and we'll know where we stand on that. And the other option we could look at is an early package that we release before we get to a GMP if the feedback from the vendors is such that it puts the project's schedule in jeopardy. We could take that avenue as well.
Does the December 2030 substantial completion date, does that take that into account when we set that date for a substantial completion?
It did. It was a conservative outlook, knowing we are maybe a couple months behind schedule right now, and we hope to make that up. But at this time, we see that 2030 is a much achievable goal.
Okay. Thank you both.
And I think too, just for clarification as well, and I appreciate you answering those questions and kind of elaborating a little bit more on what you're doing. I hope that leaning on your expertise in this field, but also the vast range of projects and size that you all have completed will benefit, the people of Sioux City in the long run. I think that you'll do a good job analyzing that and hopefully find some different avenues that would help us afford this or help the cost come into an area where we're more comfortable. I will say too, I'm glad that you'll be able to do that early due diligence, because I do think that there's some fear over prices, whether it's steel or imports and what different impacts could have. And so I'll be curious about what some of those conversations are and see what we can do going forward. Hopefully it doesn't affect the project negatively too much, or you're able to at least gauge that.
Yeah, the cost model that I spoke about earlier, the first things, will have a narrative that explains everything that we find from the vendors, schedule, pricing, procurement, all that will be explained in that cost model.
So Travis, if you do go out and you package some of these components and you say, what's our procurement time? And somebody says to you 24 months, and you're hearing that kind of in the industry, that would be something that you would maybe package up ahead of time and say, we know we're going to need this. Let's put this component. Maybe it is all electrical. or maybe some kind of motors or something that you have to have specially built, then you would order those early and get them on site before you actually need them. Is that kind of in the plan?
Yes, that is an option we could take if the initial feedback is that something is going to impact the project schedule.
Make sure you have it when you need it.
Correct.
How much of this project do you think you will be able to self-perform, if you had to guess? I know you got to bid it, I get it.
But, how much of it would we self-perform, maybe bid on the packages?
When you have an advantage, you get to pick the packages.
Sure. Our typical work is in the process mechanical, the piping. We probably wouldn't do much with architectural. We'd have to look at the electrical package, but that's something we typically don't self-perform, but we can. Outside of those, I think everything else we would be interested in at least competing on.
How many $250 million sewer plants have you done in the last few years? I'm asking, I know you have. I'm just asking because there are people listening tonight that don't have any idea who Peter Kiewit is.
Yeah, so myself, I just came off of a water treatment plant. It was 5 years of construction. Just finished that up last May, and so I'm coming off of that. Spending the last 5 years, really 8 years if you include the pre-con phase of it, 8 years of my career with water treatment. The people that I'm bringing on as subject matter experts in the different areas are going to be senior, high-level, experienced people that have done this 30-plus years in most cases. So we're bringing on a lot of our experienced folks because those are the types of people that we need in the room right now, because now's the best time to influence the design and the schedule and the cost.
And would Peter Kiewit General Construction out of Omaha bid some of that architectural work?
Outside the architectural work, this would be bid out of our Denver office.
No, I know.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about, you're saying you're not going to build buildings, you're going to build processes. Would Kiewit, would you think they would bid some of the work down there? The construction site out of Omaha? The building?
Yeah. The building guys.
Yeah.
We could talk to them about that as well. Yeah. I have not engaged our building group out of Omaha on this project, but if there's an opportunity and it makes sense, then we could look at it for bidding it. Electrical as well.
Anything else?
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Good job, Tom.
Thanks for having us.
Call the roll, please.
Oh. Yeah.
William Burrows, 4409 47th Street, Sioux City. I had a question for, well, first of all, I want to build on Dan's comments about how the guys on the committee are doing. They're doing an outstanding job. But my question is, how much of these, this is for Mr. Kiewit.
Travis.
You know what I'm saying, Travis. How much of these goofy tariffs that are being imposed are going to affect the overall cost of these projects?
That's a good question. I don't know if I can say anything other than we have a team of experts in our procurement department. It's actually our Kiewit Supply Network group that is monitoring the situation, and they're going to be involved with us when we're doing the cost models, so we'll have more information at that time, but we're monitoring it closely right now.
All right, great. Thanks.
Thank you. If this is SRF funds, does it have an Buy American component to that or not?
The phase one has a waiver for the BABA requirements since we started it about 3 years ago before it came out. But phase two will require Build Better America, the BAB requirements.
Does it have Davis-Bacon on it because you're using ARPA?
Yep.
Unless Trump changes that?
Nope, still Davis-Bacon and American Iron and Steel. Yep.
Did Bill have anything he wanted to add? I appreciate you being here for the meeting this afternoon, Bill. He's one of our committee members that has
Just to give
had
you
a lot of good
conf-
questions.
So Travis is going to stay at your house so you can beat him up at night? And
I don't believe in beating up on contractors or subcontractors.
Or lawyers.
I'm Bill Bradbury. I serve on the Design Review Committee. It's got a longer name than that, but and the two of us, Aaron Lincoln and myself, from that committee served on the review committee or evaluation committee of the 5 different proposals. But I can tell you, I think Kiewit's probably the best company you could have picked in the whole country to do this project. In their statement of qualifications, if I remember right, in the last 100 years, they've done 240 wastewater projects. And they've done a lot of CMAR projects, like on the order of several hundred. So this is a new process to them. But anyway, to this point, I think this whole thing, the engineer you selected, the committee's a good group, and Kiewit, it's all in pretty good hands. And looking back, I think it's really a shame that this CMAR process wasn't available a couple years prior to when it was, or the jail project could have gone a lot smoother. So,
well, we appreciate your help, Bill.
Sure.
Yeah, you've done a lot for the committee, so.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Call the roll, please.
Shaner?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Waters?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
O'Kane?
Citizen concerns, oh, he got his eye in.
Did he say it? Okay. Thank you, Councilman O'Kane.
Yep.
Come on up.
Hello, Ben Kneffler, 3829 Jones Street. And mine's not so much a citizen concern as a citizen question, but with Mr. Padmore leaving and large shoes to fill and wanting to, take what he's done and continue, my question is there a process for the hiring the new city manager, just not knowing? And
Well, it's like I told you last week. Let me tell you the process so everybody understands. We are not rushing the process. We're seeking proposals for a firm to do the work. We have not talked about how the committees will be formed, but we will have committees of different groups to probably interview. We haven't decided that as a council because we haven't met with that. We finally upgraded the job description last week, Friday.
Timeline today.
Yeah, and Julian, well, all of us said we would like to go through some firm to do a national search, and so now that we're getting names of those people, I think the worst thing we can do is rush the process. That would be worse than taking a little more time. So we'll have to get together as a council. The last time we had city management staff, we had city union staff, and we had citizens at large, and the candidates met with all of those. It's going to be a very open process, unlike the school district that somehow was able to go into closed session to talk to these guys. Our attorney, and I agree with her opinion, is the recent court case does not allow that to happen, and that's somewhat. There's a good side and a bad side to that. It's somewhat challenging if somebody has an existing job where they're pretty comfortable, and to put their name in another pot doesn't always work for them back home. So we have to work through that. But I would say the process will be more open than ever because of that. So.
Yeah, and I think that hopefully, what I'm conveying is a lot of optimism and a lot of support, and that the community is interested in it, at least the people that I talk to. And curious about if there is eligibility or a way to be in communication or have their voices heard. What does that look like? I know mine looks like coming up here today and using my 3 minutes, and I'm appreciative for that. So Again, just want to voice support for the process. Really awesome to hear those of you that I was able to speak with talk about, that open, that dialogue, that everything else, and totally, in support of that. And just more wanting to say that we understand it might take a little bit of time, or I understand it might take a little bit of time. I understand that it's going to be a process. But for those, the question being, for those who want to follow along, like, for instance, the, job description. If somebody wanted to see a job description, where do they go? If somebody wants to
HR, you can
whatever,
yeah.
How do they engage? And so if it's come up here and speak at the microphone, great. But
It'll be on the council agenda, but you're certainly welcome to contact Janelle in the HR department. She has that available right now.
And once the bids come back for like a recruitment firm or anything, that all comes before the council. So it'll be all in an open session.
We have to put an RFQ out for the firms who are interested in working for us. So it's a process. We just got the timeline today, didn't we?
Friday. Late Friday.
I was out Friday, so I haven't caught up with it all, but.
Yeah, she just sent us a timeline as to, this is what I have to do.
And it's a rough timeline, yeah.
A rough timeline,
And
so.
I'm not, I hope I'm not conveying pressure or
No,
anything
you're not,
else.
you're
Just
not.
curiosity and support.
I appreciate, Ben, that you ask those questions, and because a lot of times, and I'll just speak for myself, but a lot of times we do a lot of internal emails between us, among us, and one at a time or two at a time, Nicole. And so, we don't want to have any open meetings violations, but a lot of times we talk among ourselves. We think we're getting the word out, but I've had people wonder about that too. And Mr. Padmore, I'm going to miss Mr. Padmore. I think he's done a great job for this city for the decades that he has put in his service. But I think a lot of people are thinking, well, he announced that, and I thought he did a great job announcing it, and I was there, so I got to see it first in person, as it was. But I think people are thinking, okay, so that's happened. April 4th is around the corner. But April 4th is not going to govern, that's not our deadline. That's Mr. Padmore's, and I appreciated that we have a time certain when that will be his last day. And so we'll work with that. But I can see where it might be perception that, well, what's going on? What's happened? And, like job descriptions, I don't know if those will be placed on the website or not. I mean, do you have to make a call to HR for that, or would that be something they
can't go to the website till we approve it?
Right, we have
It will
a
have to
finalized.
be approved.
Once it's approved, though, that could be
Yeah.
on the website. The timeline could be on the website.
Under the HR format on the Open Cities website, all the job descriptions are contained there.
Okay.
So once it's updated and approved by council, it should be located there.
So we'll try to market that and broadcast that more, I think, because I do think it's important.
Yeah, and I'm naive to the deal, so I apologize, to everybody about
The
it.
biggest citizen disappointment in this process was I've had many people tell me they thought I had resigned, and they were disappointed to find out it was Pat.
Yeah.
Oh, I
But
got that
they'll
mixed
just have to
up.
live with that. That's all.
And Ben, just for the record, I didn't start that rumor.
But we do have a very competent assistant city manager who will fill Mr. Padmore's shoes in the interim, because we will not have his position filled by April.
Okay.
And we
Who doesn't want us to go
plan.
very long, by the way.
Yeah. But the process is important, Ben, and that's your
I didn't
point.
even see you sitting out there.
What is our process? And
Yeah, and how can the community show support, basically? If people, if people want to support, or even just me getting up and saying, there's a lot of people that want to show support in the process, and we're rooting for everybody. They are big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
And, we've gone a long ways, and we want to keep going, so.
Well, and we're not I think some people think we're further along in the process than we are. We're just not.
Understood.
Until we have Janelle told us until we have the job description updated, we can't, or we shouldn't begin, and we agree with that. So we just finally got that done.
the other thing you've done for me anyway is that there is excitement in this community about that, because we have so much that good things happening in this community. Have we had challenges? Sure we do. But if we don't do anything, you don't have to worry about, you won't have challenges. There's nothing that's going to happen. So I appreciate your excitement about this. I appreciate your enthusiasm about what it means to be looking for a city manager for the city of Sioux City. That's real critical to me, so thank you.
I appreciate that. Appreciate the time. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Anyone else? Seeing none, I will go to Matthew, and then you can get off the phone. Matthew, do you have anything?
Just a couple brief things. I'm going to start off with some good news that I'm sure a lot of people were excited to hear, and that's that the Bob Dylan will be playing the Orpheum on April 2nd. But I think that's huge. That's a huge get for, a huge get for the Orpheum, so I was really excited to see that. A couple of doom and gloom, and then I promise I'll stop. I'm very concerned about at the federal level, the cutting of Lutheran Services payments, the stoppage of their payments. I think there's some confusion about what they do. And there's a lot of programs that they help to run. One of the things that they do in our area is they help rehouse refugees. They help teach refugees English. I mean, there's a lot of little things that kind of go along with that that's going to affect our area. And so that's very concerning. Whether you agree with it or not, a lot of those refugees have come from war-torn countries, and they just simply can't be shipped back. So they're here with no support now. So they'll be relying on more support from the city and whatever social services we have. The other thing that's really concerning to me, and I promised the individual that brought this to me that I would not speak on it. So my apologies if it seems a little murky. But and Alex, I'm sure you had the same conversation on Friday. Somebody that's closer to the situation than I was involved with some state talks regarding some upcoming, what they would probably call consolidation, but frankly it's cuts, that could affect services that are offered in our area. And I can't go into too much detail of it, but I would just advise the public to be very, very mindful of cuts and consolidations that are happening kind of throughout the state, because every service that gets cut at the state level is more that residents have to pay out of their pocket. And I think that's something that we should all keep an eye on. It's fun to call it, fiscal conservatism. But fiscal conservatism just simply means the state is not going to help you pay the check, and you need to figure out a way to pay it yourself. So I would just advise people to keep an eye on what's happening at the state level, because, the federal government is definitely taking the headlines, but there's quite a few cuts and consolidation that's still yet to happen at the Iowa level too. And that's everything for this week.
Okay. Is that it?
That's it.
That'll do it.
Go ahead, sir.
I apologize.
That's all right.
I missed the citizen concerns. My name is Doug Rollberry. I live at 2900 West Horn Avenue here in Sioux City over on the west side. Got about 1.5 acres of land over there. Easiest way to know where that is would be if you know where the Big Sioux kind of dumps into Missouri. Go right up the bluff. That's my backyard. Long story short, I contacted the Sioux City Police Department about 5-6 weeks ago. The land that butts up against mine at the top of the bluff over there is city property. There's about roughly 36, 37 acres of city property up there. It's all wooded grass area. That butts up against kind of where War Eagles is. And I contacted the police. There's some homeless vagrant folks.
Yeah, you called me on it. I talked to you or somebody about that.
Well, I never talked to anybody. I talked to a policeman that came out to my home.
Somebody talked to me about that, and I called, but go ahead.
Okay, well, anyway, that's a like I said, kind of a wild area. It's all grassland, trees, a lot of wildlife. These folks have been there for a while. They were in a certain area about 50 yards from where they're at currently, and they left that and they moved kind of south toward more closer to the bluff, left a huge bunch of debris up there where they were camped previously. They're lighting fires up there. They've got dogs up there. I'm concerned for my property. I'm concerned for fires. I would imagine if you're the city, it's a liability issue. So I know it's a little not the normal agenda here, but I just want you folks to be aware that they're there. They shouldn't be. I've contacted the police. They haven't done anything about it. I don't know if they contacted you. The police officer that I talked to said that he would. I saw one city vehicle pull up in front of my house. I live on a dead end that sat there for 15 minutes about a week after I had contacted the police. And they drove away, and that's kind of where we're at till now. Okay. So anyway, that's all I got. I got questions for anybody, I'll answer them.
I'll make sure it gets addressed.
I'm sorry?
I'll make sure it gets addressed. If you can come over and I can get your phone number.
Sure, you bet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for letting us know.
Julie?
I don't have a lot. I just wanted to say I am hopeful when I hear and read in our agendas and I hear the developers what they want to do to provide our low-income housing and affordable housing with the Crescent Park, former Crescent Park School, the Everett School, the former AEA building, the Cook Park now. That just brings me hope that we're addressing our low-income housing and affordable housing statistics in our city. We hear about these things kind of sporadically, maybe once every few months, so to the general public, sometimes it doesn't seem like we're getting much done. But when you look at the sites collectively, we're really getting a lot done, and I just thank the developers for investing their time in including these types of developments in their portfolios. Some of them are working with our housing department in Sioux City here. They're designating several apartments to people who are transitioning out of homelessness. So I just want to bring that to everyone's attention that not only is the city working on it, but we have local developers and some not entirely local but regional developers who are investing in Sioux City, and they're investing in the more financially diverse areas of Sioux City. And I really, really appreciate that, and I want to bring that just to everyone's attention today.
Okay. Alex?
A few different things. I guess I would say first and foremost, I share Matthew's excitement for OVG and our community on Bob Dylan, as well as some of the other acts and things that have been released here recently. I think that's exciting. It's exciting to be able to bring some real energy into those buildings and to get some of those national acts touring through and being able to stop here. I hear that all the time, that we want some of these big name acts, and so I look for the people of Sioux City to, I'm sure the entire region will be excited and making the trip to get tickets as soon as they go on sale, because I'm sure this will be one that will sell out quickly, and just make sure to watch for when that ticket drops. Then I would also well, I guess I'll start by saying I went down on Wednesday, this last Wednesday, to Des Moines with the Chamber of Commerce, as well as some other another group that I was working with on some legislation. But I just wanted to commend city staff and thank Marty Doherty for making the trip as well and advocating, especially on behalf of our targeted jobs program, but also workforce housing tax credits, some of those programs, even TIF, just looking at these programs that have really benefited our community and that we've worked effectively to implement and make sure that are running well. When given the opportunity, I spoke a lot about the property tax reform, and tried explaining that in layman's terms, or explaining the impact that some of these bills have had on our community. I know that there are a number of communities all across Iowa that are really feeling restrained and really feeling the pain of trying to come up with these budget shortfalls. I shared with a lot of the lawmakers, including the majority leaders and other elected officials, that, you know, just for fiscal year 26, we're looking at approximately a $3.2 million deficit, based off of largely two bills. One that was passed this last session and one that was passed a couple sessions ago. But really that impacts a lot of different things. And if we want to keep it budget neutral as far as the impact to taxpayers, so that we don't just pass along that loss to them, we would have to cut $3.2 million. And I tried putting that in tangible terms. I know all of you were there for that, and I believe actually Dan might have asked for that at the legislative forum we had in this very chamber. But, you know, that equates to 25 police officers, 29 firefighters, or cutting all of library services. Those are significant cuts. And while I said, you know, the city is obviously not going to cut 25 police officers, it does really force our hand to try to make cuts and not be able to effectively run a local government and do right by the taxpayer. And in my opinion, you know, we were elected to influence local decisions and be able to make those decisions, and we were elected by the people of Sioux City, and I would trust that they would hold us accountable if we vary from that. And to think that we are no longer in charge of those funds is really troubling, especially as the state of Iowa sits on a surplus. So I think that that's a challenge, and it will be a challenge moving forward, not only for Sioux City, but a lot of other cities as well. So I tried urging them to think about that, but I also share Matthew's concern about upcoming cuts, consolidation, things that could happen. Yeah. Speaking of budgets and the need to trim, or at least look critically at what we're able to do and provide for the community, if you are bored on Saturday and you want to tune in or come for a lively discussion, we will be having our operating budget hearing this Saturday, bright and early. 8:30 a.m.? You better believe it, and we'll go all day till it gets done. So if you're interested in advocating or learning more about the operating budget, the different positions, there'll be a discussion on each and every one of the departments, and we'll take a good long look at what we can do moving forward to not only be efficient but also be effective. So I look forward to that discussion. And we have a joint meeting tomorrow. Tell you what, it's one heck of a busy week. Yeah, no kidding.
Preservation.
Yep, historic preservation. It should be good. We have a lot of good things going on in that sphere and then on that committee, so I'm excited for that conversation too. So, but that's all I have, Mayor.
Well, after that brilliant introduction of cuts from Mr. Waters, I was going to talk about the operating budget hearing Saturday, but now I don't need to. But yeah, you summed it up very well of what we're going to be looking at on Saturday.
And up against.
You've been through a few of those, Mayor.
Well, I mean, the only way you're going to catch the legislature's attention, and I don't want to cry wolf, but one of these days you're going to have to look at position. And then the citizens are going to be upset, but you don't have much control over it. So I don't know how you get the legislature to believe that we're trying to be fiscally responsible. And, you know, if you propose to cut 5 police officers on Saturday, the citizens will be lined up in here, and they should be, but there's going to come a point in time where you have to do that. And I think that's terribly unfortunate that they have never figured out that we're a partner in the growth of this state. but I'll get off my soapbox and move we adjourn.
Scott,
Aye.
Waters,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
Shaner.
Aye. Matthew, are you still there?